Amidst the raging storm outside, the ancient estate of Wuthering Heights came alive in its fury. The howling wind made the heavy oak doors rattle and the roof tiles rumble like the groans of souls, imprisoned by their own dark history. The wind blew through the narrow cracks in the window frames, sending in gusts of icy cold air that seemed to chill the very blood of anyone within. Amidst the torrential rain and the blackness of the night, a pale figure suddenly appeared outside the window, frantically scratching at the glass before bursting in. This ghost of the past clasps the hand of the newcomer and recounts the struggles of years spent wandering around the desolate hillside, surrounded by the haunting sounds of nature and memory. This is the dark, chilling, and eerie tone characteristic of Wuthering Heights, the classic novel by Emily Brontë. This extraordinary work tells a story of a love that is passionate but fundamentally dark. Here, love, instead of saving lives or bringing peace, becomes the beginning of a profound tragedy. But amidst that gloomy and heavy atmosphere, we can pause to reflect on the invisible bonds and threads that bind us tightly. In our own modern relationships, the love story in this work serves as a stark reflection of real-life people who allow themselves to love but do not allow themselves to let go. The more you cling to a ghost or a grievance, the deeper you sink into the mire of your own making. What we often call passionate love followed by intense suffering is ultimately just a cycle, a hard lesson for those who keep dwelling on their emotions and their own unresolved issues. Hi and hello everyone. Welcome back to Improved Version, a channel dedicated to sharing profound knowledge for holistic self-development through the lens of great books. Today, I would like to share with you a deep exploration of the heart titled Life is Short, Don't Love Too Much, inspired by the masterpiece Wuthering Heights. This is widely considered one of the greatest novels in world literature, often placed on par with the epic themes of works like War and Peace. Although more than a century has passed since its publication, the appeal and the psychological depth of this work have not diminished at all. If you're currently feeling confused, uncertain about love, or have just ended a painful relationship that left you feeling hollow, I hope this discussion will help you gain a clearer understanding of yourself. I want you to realize what you're truly looking for, help you move on from the hurt, and learn how to move forward into the future with greater ease and a lighter spirit. You can love someone deeply with all your heart, but you must never love them absolutely to the point of losing your own existence. To understand this, let us look at the beginning of the tragedy. One cold winter, the old master of the house, Mr. Earnshaw, returned home to his children with a surprise gift. When the bundle was opened, everyone was astonished. Inside was a blind, orphaned, ragged street child he had rescued. From then on, the boy became a new member of the family and was given the name Heathcliff. Faced with this uninvited guest, the eldest son, Hindley, became angry and reacted with fierce jealousy. He feared the arrival of this new child would steal the love his father had for him. However, his younger sister, Catherine, opened her heart completely. She was a free-spirited, mischievous, and stubborn little girl who saw a kindred spirit in the dark-haired orphan. Having been treated like a princess at home since childhood, Catherine did not care about Heathcliff's status or his lack of a last name. She did not care what the servants or the neighbors thought when she played with that mischievous, rough boy. The two children would often sneak out of the manor, running into the vast, wild fields of the moors to bask in the sun and listen to the wind. They would smell the damp grass and watch the trees sway in the gale. Together, they felt the mysterious and endless wild beauty of nature, living like two blades of grass reaching freely in the cold breeze. In that isolation, a love gradually blossomed between them, a love that was as wild and untamable as the hills themselves. But the world is rarely as kind as a childhood memory. When the old master passed away, Hindley, the eldest son, naturally became the new owner of the manor. In Hindley's eyes, Heathcliff was a fundamental mistake, a stain on the family honor. As soon as he inherited the estate, his first act of power was to turn Heathcliff from a foster brother into a lowly servant. He forced him to sleep in the stables, humiliated him daily, and beat him constantly. But a strange psychological phenomenon occurred. The more Heathcliff was tormented, the deeper his obsessive love for Catherine grew. Because Catherine never distanced herself from him, he felt he could endure anything. Despite being strictly forbidden by her brother, she always found a way to be with the man she loved. For Heathcliff, Catherine was his whole world, his sun, and his oxygen. With her around, all the resentments and the physical pain of his life were soothed away. He began to live for the day he would marry her and they would grow old together in their wild paradise. Then the beautiful fantasy shattered. Catherine received a marriage proposal from Edgar Linton, the wealthy and polished nobleman of the neighboring estate, Thrushcross Grange. Heathcliff soon discovered that the carefree and free-spirited Catherine he once knew, the girl who could run and jump freely in the dirt, had changed. She had become a modest, elegant young woman who seemed afraid that her beautiful silk dress would get dirty if she got too close to him. At that moment, Heathcliff understood that the social divide between them had finally become a wall. Nevertheless, he still held on to hope. Their feelings had lasted for so many years. How could they be shaken so quickly? But Catherine, driven by a desire for social standing and comfort, accepted the proposal. Heathcliff's fatal mistake was overhearing a private conversation where Catherine told a servant that it would degrade her to marry Heathcliff. Those words struck him like a bolt from the blue, shattering his soul. He was utterly devastated and immediately fled the estate in the middle of the night, missing the part of the conversation where Catherine confessed that her love for him was deeper than anything on earth, famously saying, "I am Heathcliff." In that dark night, he was like a wounded animal fleeing into the wilderness, disappearing without a trace for years. It is often said that the deeper the love, the greater the pain. If people consider love to be their entire universe, then when that love is lost, it feels like dying once and for all. However, the issue here isn't the depth of the love itself. You can absolutely love someone wholeheartedly and still be healthy. What causes true suffering is loving to unconditionally and absolutely. What exactly is this absolute kind of love? It is when you place your entire happiness, your self-worth, and the very meaning of your existence on a fragile scale, with another person as the only counterweight. This kind of love gradually transforms you from an independent entity into a satellite orbiting another person. Your emotions begin to fluctuate entirely based on their mood. When they are happy, you feel at ease. When they are indifferent, you feel devastated. You lose your personal hobbies, your personal time, and eventually, your sense of self is eroded until there is nothing left but the other person. Like Heathcliff, many people loved too completely for him. Catherine was the sole reason for the existence of an orphan child with no social standing. He built his entire persona around her. When love is absolutized in this way, it transforms into a dangerous form of dependence or total possessiveness. Heathcliff didn't love Catherine as a separate individual with her own choices. He loved her as if she were a part of his own body. He loved her like a living creature needs light to photosynthesize. Losing her meant total destruction. In our real lives, many of us unconsciously fall into this trap. We say things like, "She is everything to me," or "I will never love anyone else," or "Without you, I am nothing." While these sound romantic, they're actually symptoms of losing your true independent selves. You must love with all your heart, but you must also remain a whole person. You need to maintain a point of balance so that love becomes a gentle flow between two shores of self-control rather than a flood that drowns you both. True love never demands possession or total dependence. It recognizes that you have your own world, your own career, and your own friends. Together, you build a richer shared world, but you remain two independent trees reaching for the sun together, rather than one vine clinging so tightly to a trunk that it eventually strangles the life out of both. Let balance be your guide, allowing you to remain a free and independent being even when you're deeply in love. What truly torments a person is not the event itself, but the fact that they keep living in the past. 3 years after he fled in devastation, Heathcliff returned to the moors, but he was no longer the lowly servant. He had become a wealthy, dignified, and powerful gentleman. However, Catherine was already Edgar's wife. Heathcliff's love had never faded, but when he saw her happy with someone else, his heart turned to stone. Because he could not have her, he fell into a maze of trauma and blamed everyone from his past for his breakdown. The fire of hatred, fueled by the tiny sparks of old memories, grew into an inferno. He directed his arrows of hatred first at Hindley, who had humiliated him years ago. Finding Hindley depressed and addicted to gambling after the death of his wife, Heathcliff systematically destroyed him. He encouraged Hindley's vices until the debts piled up so high that Hindley had to sell the estate to pay them off. Heathcliff bought it, becoming the master of the very house where he was once a slave. He then treated Hindley and Hindley's young son, Hareton, with the same cruelty he had once received, forcing them into servitude. His revenge didn't stop there. He visited Catherine constantly, reigniting her old feelings and causing her marriage to deteriorate. Catherine, torn between her husband and her soulmate, fell into a deep depression while pregnant. In an act of pure malice, Heathcliff then seduced and eloped with Isabella, Edgar's sister, simply to spite his rival. He married her only to imprison her and treat her brutally because she was the sister of the man who stole Catherine. Watching Heathcliff destroy everyone she knew, Catherine suffered a double blow of love and guilt. She died shortly after giving birth to her daughter, leaving Heathcliff to howl in the night, begging her ghost to haunt him so he wouldn't be alone. Heathcliff thought that seeking revenge and making others pay would get his life back. But what did he gain each time he struck a blow against his enemies? His heart became emptier. There was no satisfaction, no joy, only an endless, cold darkness. He was a man imprisoned by his past, unable to see that the person he was hurting most was himself. This is an immutable law of life. If emotions are not resolved and released, they will come back to control you. The more you resist the reality of what happened, the bigger the pain grows. The more you try to avoid the hurt by lashing out, the more it clings to you. We see this in modern life all the time. People end a relationship but continue to post cryptic messages for their ex to see. They badmouth their former partners to mutual friends or rush into new relationships just to prove they are fine. Some even turn to self-harm or self-destructive behavior just to make the other person feel guilty. We seek revenge in these small ways, hoping the other person's pain will alleviate our own. But it never works. It is a futile attempt to fill an internal emptiness. Revenge does not bring peace. It only deepens the abyss in your heart. There's a powerful saying, One thought can make you a Buddha. One thought can make you a demon. This means that your attitude toward your suffering determines the kind of life you live. The past does not actually hold you back. You are the one holding onto the past. When someone leaves your life, you have a choice. Let them go, or let them live on as a ghost in your heart. If you choose to eat and sleep with old memories, arguing with people who are no longer there, you are the one locking the door from the inside. Remember that new happiness cannot enter a heart that is still packed tight with the resentment of an old relationship. Great wisdom lies in knowing when to let go. More than 10 years passed after Catherine's death, but Heathcliff remained stuck. His resentment even moved to the next generation. He treated his own sickly son, Linton, as a pawn to seize more property, forcing him to marry Catherine's daughter, Cathy. He burned the girl's books and made her a servant in her own family home. He tried to trample on the self-respect of young Hareton, hoping to make him feel the same shame Heathcliff felt years ago. But he failed to realize one thing. The young people were different. Cathy and Hareton, despite their suffering, began to develop feelings for each other. One day, Heathcliff spotted them leaning their heads together, whispering and laughing softly. Their faces were warm and happy, as if they had never known the torment Heathcliff had spent his life inflicting. In that moment, something broke inside Heathcliff. He recalled the days when he was young and in love with the first Catherine. The resentment vanished in an instant because he saw that love was stronger than his hate. He silently released his grip on life, calling Catherine's name as he faded away. He stopped making things difficult for the young couple, and they finally found the happiness that had eluded him. Heathcliff spent his entire life in a self-imposed prison of bitterness. In the end, he realized that what he truly wanted was not for others to pay, but simply for the affection and warmth he had missed as a child. But that warmth only comes when you learn to let go of the right to be angry. If you're not happy, you must let go. The greatest regret in life is easily letting go of things worth holding onto, like your own peace, and clinging to things that should have been discarded long ago. Are you like Heathcliff? Are you clinging to a wound that happened years ago? Sometimes we feel we cannot overcome an obstacle, not because the barrier is too big, but because our vision is too narrow. When you're narrow-minded, you only see your own pain. You fail to see the vast sky of possibility beyond it. Perspective is everything. If you view your life only through the fragments of past trauma, your heart will shrink. A single rejection can feel like the end of the world. But if you broaden your perspective, you will see that many of the things you once thought were life-altering are just fleeting scenes in a very long movie. Remember that everything is an experience. When you stand taller, you can watch the movie of your life with detachment. There are beautiful chapters and there are painful ones. People come into your life and people leave. It is all part of the larger flow of existence. No one has the power to ruin your entire film unless you give them the remote control. Your greatest pain is not the hurt others caused you, but the fact that you became too immersed in the role of the victim. You started believing that you're that pain. In reality, you are the observer, the director, the one who can choose to change the scene. Step out of the tragedy. Learn to forgive, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve peace. As Oscar Wilde said, for one's own sake, one must forgive certain things. A spoonful of salt in a glass of water makes it undrinkable, but that same salt in a vast lake has no effect. Be like the lake. Be a true spirit of the land when you love and live. If you are in a relationship, let go of the need to control. If you have just ended one, Let go of the pain as easily as you would drop a heavy stone from your hand. Don't carry anything into your future that doesn't belong there. For the rest of our lives, let us all strive to be free from the mistakes and rejections of others. Shed the burdens in your heart so that the sunlight can illuminate the path ahead. Learn to love sincerely without losing yourself. Learn to broaden your perspective so that the desire for possession doesn't bind you. Only then does love become a place where we grow, not a place where we vanish. And remember, only when you accept the flaws and humanity of others can you truly begin to love yourself. Life gives you encounters so that you can learn to let go of expectations. This is the ultimate wisdom and the hardest lesson of all. Thank you so much for listening to this journey through the moors of the soul. If you found this reflection on Wuthering Heights helpful and it gave you a new perspective on your own life, please share it with someone else who might be struggling to let go of the past. Your support means the world to us. Before you go, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to Improved Version. We are on a mission to bring you the best lessons from classic literature and modern wisdom to help you become the best version of yourself. Click the notification bell so you never miss our weekly deep dives into the books that matter. Thank you again for being part of our community. Keep your heart open, keep your vision wide, and we will see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.